The Cursed Witch of the Stones, spine-chilling tales of haunted roads and sinister homes revealed in a dying suburb where houses stood like grim sentinels of decay. Emma felt the weight of shadows pressing against her chest. The stories of a witch haunting the nearby forest echoed through the sagging fences and overgrown yards of her neighborhood. She was a single mom, trying to carve out a normal life for her two children, Lucy and Sam. But in this forsaken area, where whispers of dark magic lingered in the air, hope felt like a distant dream. On a stormy evening when the skies turned brooding, Emma's frail neighbor, Mrs. Carlyle, approached her with a frantic urgency that turned her stomach. "Emma," she said, her voice quivering like a fragile leaf, "there's a witch, a cursed witch roaming the woods. She preys on families like yours." Emma rolled her eyes but couldn't shake the chill that ran down her spine. However, she brushed off Mrs. Carlyle's warnings, dismissing them as the ramblings of an old woman losing her grip on reality. Shadows slipped through her house as she left for yet another long shift at the hospital, leaving her home to darken in her absence. That night, as rain lashed against the window panes, Emma returned to an unsettling scene. Lucy and Sam sat in the dim light, frozen, their wide eyes fixated on a corner of the living room. A dark shape flickered there, gone as soon as Emma squinted at it. "It's just your imagination," she assured them, though her heart raced in disbelief. The silence felt thick and alive, like the air before a thunderstorm. Unease pooled in her belly, and the whispers, the faint, beckoning whispers she'd heard before, grew louder, snaking around her thoughts. In the cold dawn, she awoke to a fog that blanketed the neighborhood. A damp chill settled in her bones as she stepped outside, and there stood Mr. Johnson, staring at the forest with a haunted expression. "Stay close to home, Emma," he whispered, his voice trembling. "You don't want to stir her, not if you care about your kids." What was he talking about? The very ground beneath her felt as if it quivered, as if the earth itself had secrets clawing at its surface. Later that evening, the darkness descended with a terrible weight. Shadows began to dance, the wind howling through the eaves like a mournful specter. The kids shivered as horrific visions haunted their dreams, figures lurking just beyond their field of vision. Emma, desperate to shield them, made the reckless choice to venture into the woods that surrounded their home. A misguided resolve pushed her forward as the whispers grew frantic, clawing for release. As she crossed into the woods, the atmosphere became pregnant with eerie silence, broken by the rustle of unseen things. The path twisted and turned, branches snagging at her clothes like skeletal fingers. And then she found it, a hidden clearing. The stones scattered around a gnarled old tree pulsed rhythmically, emanating a dark energy that made her skin crawl. Panic surged as she realized these were not mere stones, they were markers, reminders of a sorrowful past that intertwined her fate with that of the witch. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the cold wind swept through the clearing, Emma felt the air shift. She froze as the figure of Mrs. Carlyle emerged from the shadows, a knowing look in her eyes that twisted something deep within Emma. Was the old woman rooted in the truths of these stones? The weight of generations pressed down on her, and a horrifying clarity burned within Emma. This witch wasn't just folklore. With her children's safety hanging in the balance, confronting this dark legacy might be the only way to save them. But as fear clawed at her heart, she realized that the witch's curse was not just a legend, it was a reality waiting to be unleashed. Emma's breath quickened as she faced Mrs. Carlyle, whose eyes seemed to glow with an unsettling knowledge. The wind howled around them, swirling leaves like spirits trapped in a dance. "You shouldn't be here, Emma," Mrs. Carlyle said, each word precisely measured. The stones, they've awakened her. What did that mean? Emma's heart hammered against her ribcage as the shadows grew thicker, swallowing the last wisps of daylight. She felt the cold seep into her bones, panic threatening to overwhelm her like an unstoppable tidal wave. "What are you talking about?" she demanded, her voice trembling despite her best efforts. The old woman stepped closer, her frail figure barely visible against the backdrop of swirling darkness. "The witch," she said, "she was wronged long ago. These stones are a part of her. And by stepping into this clearing, you've drawn her attention. Emma's nails dug into her palms. She didn't believe in this madness. Yet, a sickening feeling churned in her gut. She remembered Lucy and Sam back at home, waiting for her, likely rattled and frightened. She needed to return to them. With every ounce of courage, she turned to leave the clearing, only to find the path behind her vanished into impenetrable fog. "Don't you see?" Mrs. Carlyle's voice cut through her panic. "You can't run. She'll take them, she'll take everything." Emma's mind raced. The old woman's words were laced with dread, but the threat loomed now, tangible and real. She strained to see through the mist, images flickering just beyond the veil, a childless laughter, a shadow darting by, gnashing teeth grinning at her from the darkness. Fear welled up within her, mingling with guilt. Had she done this to her children? Their innocence hung in the air like an echo, a reminder of their fragile safety. A chill ran down her spine at the thought of the witch clamping onto her family, twisting their lives with dark enchantments. "Help me!" Emma cried, desperation lacing her voice. "How can I stop her?" Mrs. Carlyle stepped forward, hesitation flickering in her aged eyes. For a brief moment, darkness lifted, revealing a glimpse of something deeper beneath her weathered skin, a glimmer of compassion. Emma reached out, grasping at the hope that should be in her heart. "There's a price," Mrs. Carlyle warned, her voice steady yet grim. "You'll have to face the past. You'll need to summon her, to confront what was done. Only then can you hope to break the curse." Before Emma could process her words, a sound sliced through the quiet, a childless cry, shrill and haunting, reverberating through the woods. It froze her to the spot. "Lucy? Sam?" The familiar sound was laced with anguish, echoing among the trees, pulling her back toward home like an unyielding gravity. Falling into instinct, Emma turned, searching for a trace of her way home. The dark tendrils of fog wrapped around her legs, seeking to pull her back. "Wait!" Mrs. Carlyle's voice shimmered through the mist, but Emma had already plunged into the unknown, driven by sheer terror. With each step, the cries grew louder, a sinister chorus pulling at her heartstrings. Shadows flickered and darted just out of sight, and Emma felt eyes upon her, watching, waiting. The path twisted further into the gloom, descending into depths she could not fathom. Finally, she stumbled upon her front porch. The familiarity almost surprised her amidst the chaos. But her home felt different, eerie. The flicker of dim light from inside cast monstrous shadows against the walls, growing ominous. "Lucy! Sam!" she called, panic swelling as her heartbeat echoed in her ears. Silence answered, heavy and suffocating. Emma pushed the door open, a creak like a funeral dirge filling the air. Inside, it was as though time stood still. The living room was empty, but it felt alive with energy, cold drafts swirling around her like whispers of the dead. Images danced in her mind, the children's laughter now a cruel echo. Panic surged again, urging her to move deeper into the unknown, and at that moment, a voice, cold and sweet, slithered through the air. "You've come back to me, Emma." What had she awakened in her quest for safety? Emma's heart raced as she spun around, searching for the source of the voice that chilled her to her core. The living room looked unchanged, but shadows crept in every corner, creeping closer, as if alive. Her breath came in shallow bursts. "Who's there?" she asked, trying to sound braver than she felt. Her words echoed back at her, swallowed by the oppressive silence that now felt like a tangible weight upon her chest. The whisper returned, inviting and arch. "You can't hide, dear. We have been waiting for you." Emma felt her legs threaten to collapse beneath her. A cold sweat slicked her palms. "Get away from my family," she shouted, rallying what little strength she had left. But the silence wrapped tighter around her, suffocating her words. Then, a flicker of movement caught her eye. From the corner of the room, a small figure emerged, stumbling toward her. It was Lucy, her wild hair framing her pale face, her eyes wide and glistening, but devoid of the joy they usually radiated. "Mommy," she trembled, reaching out with a tiny hand. The innocence in her voice sent a jolt of ferocity through Emma's veins. "Help me, Lucy." Emma lunged forward, but as she did, the light in the room dimmed, enveloping them in shadows once more. The child's form flickered, wavering like a candle in a breeze, and just as Emma reached for her, Lucy vanished into thin air. "No!" Emma yelled, her voice cracking in desperation. She stood in the silence, feeling the ground shift beneath her feet. The walls closed in, breathing with her. They were alive, and they were angry. "Find her or lose everything," the voice cooed from behind her, low and menacing. Emma spun around, heart pounding. "What do you want?" she screamed into the void. "What did you do to them?" A low, throaty laugh echoed through the room, piercing right through her. "What was done to me, dear Emma, what was taken it must be returned. The price must be paid." A flicker of memory slashed across her mind, hands, vines twisting, a shadowy figure hunched over a cauldron. The witch. A staggering realization forced its way through her panic. She had not just stepped into a clearing. She had clawed her way into a curse, and it was not finished with her yet. "Emma," the familiar voice called again, this time from a different room. Instincts surging, she dashed toward the sound, pushing through the shadowy haze that seemed to reach for her, clawing at her skin. Every step screamed of dread. "Lucy!" But the closer she got, the more distorted the voice became, melting into raspy whispers, choking her spirit. The hallways warped, twisting as if to trap her, as if they had a mind of their own. When she finally burst into the dim kitchen, the sight made her stomach twist. Sam sat at the table, his face pale and slack, his eyes staring blankly ahead with a look of sheer terror. The air thickened, wrapping tightly around her throat. "Sam!" Emma cried, rushing to him, kneeling by his side. "What happened? Where's Lucy?" "Mommy," he murmured slowly, his attention fixed on something behind her. She turned slowly, dread curling in her gut like a serpent. There, in the doorway, stood a figure cloaked in shadows. A familiar shape that swirled and twisted like smoke, seeping away any glimmer of hope. A smile spread across a desolate face, stretched far too wide, revealing teeth like broken glass. "The choice must be made, Emma," the witch hissed. "Sacrifice to save your children, or join them in eternal darkness." Emma's breath hitched, her heart pounding in her throat. How had it come to this? The choice, so cruel, so twisted. "Choose," the witch taunted, her smile widening. Emma felt the walls closing in, shadows consuming the light. Could she save her children and keep her soul intact, or would the darkness claim them all? Before fear could ground her, a flicker of rebellion flared within. "I won't let you take them," she shouted, her voice a battle cry against despair. The witch's laughter filled the air, chilling to the bone. "Then let the games begin." With every ounce of strength, Emma lunged forward. What awaited her next would test the depths of her soul. Would she survive the witch's deathly riddle, or would they all perish in the shadows? Time was slipping away, the game had only just begun. The kitchen lights flickered above as Emma lunged forward, nearly colliding with the table, her mind racing faster than her feet. What could she do? The witch loomed large in her mind, a suffocating presence. The image of Lucy's innocent eyes haunted her, an echo of desperation that wrapped around her heart like vines, squeezing painfully. "Stop!" she demanded, her strength wavering. "Stop this game! Where are my children?" The witch stepped forward, her form shimmering with malice, her long, claw-like fingers pointing directly at Emma. "Ah, but my dear, games are all you have left. Will you sacrifice your desires for your little ones? Or will you cling to the shred of yourself that you have left?" Emma's chest constricted. Panic surged through her. She had to act. Time was slipping away like a tide pulling her under. "What do I need to do?" she forced out, burying her fear beneath a desperate resolve. "Bring me the talisman," the witch whispered, her voice dripping with menace. "The one your ancestors hid away, the one I need to complete the ritual." Emma's mind raced. The talisman. Her grandmother had spoken in hushed tones about an ancient family heirloom, a charm meant to protect against evil forces. It felt like a distant memory, lost somewhere in the attic, beneath dust and forgotten dreams. "Where do I find it?" she pushed, clenching her fists as determination swelled within. "No, the game unfolds as it should," the witch laughed, a sound that chilled Emma's blood. You will have to face the shadows of the past if you wish to save your children. The shadows twisted around Emma, clawing at her, whispering secrets she could barely grasp. She turned back to Sam. He still sat at the table, glassy-eyed and unresponsive. "Sam, we can't stay here. We have to find Lucy." But his gaze swiveled towards the witch, a sliver of fear creeping into his expression. "Mommy, don't fear," gripped her insides. She would have to go alone. "Stay here," she ordered, unwilling to let the darkness take everything she loved. As the kitchen floor bucked under her feet, she shoved past the witch, racing toward the darkened hallway that loomed menacingly ahead. Shadows hunched near doorframes, whispering threats that sent shivers racing down her spine. "Emma," a voice called, softer now, echoing from the depths of the house. It was Lucy again. She clung to it as a lifeline, darting away from the laughter of the witch that echoed behind her. Emma stumbled into the hallway, painted in hues of dark gray, the air so thick it felt like breathing water. She had to reach the attic. The memory of her grandmother's voice replayed in her mind. "You must seek the truth that lies hidden among the forgotten." Every step felt like a journey through treacle. She gripped the railing of the staircase, her knuckles white as she climbed. The whispers grew louder, filling her ear with taunts of failure and loss. "You won't find it, you will fail." Darkness is waiting at the top. The attic door swung ajar, creaking ominously. The scent of dust and decay hit her, stirring something primal inside. The air grew colder, and she hesitated just outside, her heart pounding loudly enough that it drowned out the whispers, if only for a moment. "Lucy!" she yelled into the enveloping darkness. "I'm coming." As she stepped into the attic, the door slammed shut behind her, plunging her into a silence so deep she felt she could hear her own breathing echo off the walls. Shadows swirled like an angry storm, flickering and darting as if alive, and then she saw it, glinting in the far corner, half hidden beneath a tattered sheet. With hesitation born of fear, Emma approached. The talisman. What awaited her next? Would the witch's grip tighten even further, or was she about to unveil the key to saving her children? Emma reached for it, her breath quickening, every sense screaming danger. Just as her fingers brushed against the cold metal, everything froze. A black figure materialized behind her, laughter spilling from its twisted lips. "You really thought it would be that easy?" Emma's heart dropped as darkness engulfed her once more. What did the shadows want from her now? Would she ever break free from this nightmare? Emma's breath caught in her throat as the figure loomed closer. It was the witch, her eyes glowing a deep crimson, radiating malice that seeped into the very air. The shadows writhed and twisted, claw-like hands extending towards Emma. "Did you really think I wouldn't find you here?" The witch hissed, her voice echoing like nails scraping against glass. Panic surged within her, a tidal wave of desperation drowning out reason. She had to think. "Run! Fight! Get away from me!" Emma shouted, her voice cracking from fear. Unexpectedly, the shadows recoiled, curling away from her like smoke dispersing in sunlight. The talisman seemed to pulse in response to her rising courage, radiating warmth that cut through the chill. Not willing to waste a moment, Emma grasped it tightly, its cold metal now a lifeline against the malevolent force surrounding her. "I'm not playing your games anymore," she declared, her voice steadier than she felt. "Foolish girl," the witch spat, a twisted grin spreading across her face. "You think the talisman will save you? It's merely a trinket without the true power needed." "What does that even mean?" Emma shouted, her heart thudding violently against her chest. "I'm not going to let you take them." Another laugh rippled through the air, mocking and cold. "Your children dance on the strings of fate. Their souls are forfeit, just waiting for the right moment." The witch's elongated fingers stretched toward the attic window, pointing into the encroaching darkness outside. "You have to choose, Mother. Yourself or them." Suddenly, the shadow surged forward, wrapping around Emma as if trying to pull her away. Fear screamed inside her, urging her to break free. She struggled against the chilling grip, thoughts racing through her mind, torn between the overwhelming need to protect her children and the terror gripping her heart. "Lucy!" she cried out, hoping to reach her daughter, to tether her back to reality. But the silence intensified, echoing her despair. It was then that the talisman warmed further against her palm, revealing a swirling image within its surface, a glimpse of a past she never knew existed. Faces flashed before her eyes, ancestors shrouded in sorrow, each one fighting the darkness she now faced.
"Stop!" Emma gasped, her voice trembling.
The memories felt alive, whispers from the past urging her forward.
"This is not just about me."
The witch's expression faltered, the cocky grin slipping as she narrowed her eyes. "What are you?" But the words dissolved into a chilling wail.
Emma felt strength surge through her as the talisman radiated a brilliant light.
The shadows, once so fierce, began to waver and dim, their hold on her fading. In that moment, clarity struck. The talisman was not merely a charm, it was a connection to all who had battled this wickedness. Her ancestors had drawn strength from each other against dark forces long before her.
She was not alone. Emma's resolve solidified.
"I will find my children and end this. Your games are over." She thrust the talisman forward, its light growing brighter still, illuminating every shadow in the attic as though it were sunlight piercing through the fog. For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them. Then the darkness imploded, sucking away the shadows like a black hole, and Emma braced herself for impact. As the air crackled, the witch's visage twisted in fury.
"You think this is over?
You've only just begun to uncover the truth." With a final burst of light, the attic erupted into chaos, and Emma found herself thrown backward, the world spinning into darkness.
When the spinning stopped, she realized she was no longer in the attic. Was she still dreaming?
A cold breeze swept through her, the unmistakable scent of decay filled her lungs. Emma looked around, confusion clouding her mind. She was in a graveyard. Tombstones lined up like silent sentinels, casting long shadows in the moonlight.
"Lucy," she whispered, searching the horizon for any sign of her children, the weight of dread settling over her once more.
She had to move quickly, she had no idea how much time she had left. Suddenly, a whisper echoed around her, rising above the rustle of dead leaves. "Help us!" Emma's heart sank again as she realized the chilling implications.
What awaited her in this wretched place? Would she finally confront the darkness threatening her family, or would this graveyard be where the tale ended? What secrets lay buried, waiting to be unearthed beneath the sinister moonlight?
The whisper grew louder, a haunting melody of despair that wrapped around Emma like chains. "Help us!" The voices melded into a chorus of sorrow, echoing through the hallowed grounds, each tone twisting her insides. She hugged her arms to her chest, a shiver of dread coursing through her.
The air thickened, clinging to her skin, as if the graveyard itself hungered for her presence.
Shadowy figures flickered in and out of her vision, flitting between the tombstones, urging her to come closer. The talisman pulsed yet again, its warmth a stark contrast to the icy fingers of fear creeping into her bones. With trembling hands, she stepped forward, each footfall crunching on the brittle leaves scattered across the earth.
"Lucy!"
She called out again, her voice wavering under the weight of the silence that followed her. As she moved deeper into the graveyard, the shadows shifted like living things, stretching toward her with ghastly fingers. Behind one particularly towering tombstone, Emma spotted a flicker of movement. Heart racing, she darted toward it, praying against hope that it would be her daughter. But as she arrived, her breath caught in her throat. The figure she faced was not Lucy, but a young girl with hollow eyes, whose cheeks were sunken as if she hadn't eaten in years. Her lips pulled back into a ragged smile that sent a jolt of terror through Emma. "Help us!" the girl rasped, pointing towards a cracked gravestone engraved with cryptic symbols.
"What do you want?" Emma demanded, stepping back instinctively. The girl's finger trembled. They can't rest. You have to free them." Before Emma could respond, the air turned electric. Dark clouds gathered above, casting heavy shadows that swallowed the moonlight. She felt a presence behind her, a weight heavier than the grave itself. The witch, her form twisted and insidious, stepped through the gloom, laughing as it echoed around them. "You think you're a savior, don't you?" The witch's voice slid through the air like ice. "You're a fool." Terror clawed at Emma's insides. "What do you want from me?" The witch waved her hand dismissively, and the shadows twisted, forming ghoulish faces in the dark. "Your children are the key. Before she can ascend, you must release them or join their ranks." "Never!" Emma shouted, her voice trembling with defiance, but inside, doubt crept in like a venomous snake. What could she do against such relentless darkness? Beneath the crackling tension, another whisper threaded through the air,
deeper and more resonant. Break the cycle, it urged, rising from the earth itself. Emma's heart raced. She glanced at the symbols on the gravestone, a pulse of energy thrumming beneath her palm. Did they hold the key to her children's salvation? To release those trapped by the witch, the eerie silence pressed in, and a frantic decision tightened around her chest. I will not let the darkness win, she cried, steel threading her resolve, but her shout was drowned as the witch lunged forward, an angry storm of shadows swirling at her command. Emma staggered, colliding with the gravestone, feeling its ancient power resonate through her. What do I need to do? She gasped, desperation rising like bile, battling against the encroaching shadows. The girl's hollow gaze widened, pleading. Break it! Only then can we be free. Emma's determination churned within her, igniting a fire she didn't know she had. She grasped the talisman tightly, feeling its energy surge in response. The stakes had never been clearer. Would she risk everything to save her children and those lost to the darkness? With a fierce gasp, she pressed the talisman against the gravestone, the symbols drawing nearer, gleaming with an ominous light. As she did, the shadows roared around her, and the witch's laughter echoed in her ears, relentless and menacing. You'll fail, fate is not so easily changed. The ground trembled beneath her, and a crack split the earth. Could she truly alter the cycle of despair, or would this graveyard become her final resting place? The darkness surged again, and Emma's vision narrowed, the pressure mounting, as she prepared to face whatever horrors awaited her in her quest to unveil the truth. Would she stand strong, or would the specters of the past consume her? The answers lay ahead, buried underneath the weight of ancient sorrows and restless spirits. The moment Emma pressed the talisman against the gravestone, a blinding light erupted. It seared through the darkness, illuminating the swirling shadows that clung to her like a shroud. She staggered back, a scream lodged in her throat as the intensity escalated. The ghoulish faces melted away into wisps of smoke, shrieking as they vanished, but the pressure only intensified. Free us! The hollow-eyed girl's plea cut through the cacophony, more desperate now. You must break the curse. In that blinding light, the symbols on the gravestone twisted and shifted, transforming into grotesque images of horror. Rise and fall, the images pulsated: kids running beneath streetlights, laughter echoing in flickering darkness, mothers screaming, their voices swallowed by shadows. Emma's heart pounded in her chest, but she couldn't waver. She pressed harder. What do I have to do? Her voice cracked, desperation fueling her words. Then the light dimmed, replaced by a chilling wind that rushed through the graveyard. It whispered secrets in her ear. Echoes of suffering, shadows of despair. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the air, louder than thunder. The gravestone groaned, and she felt it pulse beneath her hand. A fissure snaked across the marble surface, revealing a pit of darkness, an abyss filled with writhing souls. Emma fought the instinct to recoil, feeling many eyes upon her, judging her. Look closer. The girl's voice reverberated, pulling Emma back in. She squinted down into the void, a chill encompassing her entire being. Who were these souls? What had trapped them here? Find the truth. The girl urged, her eyes becoming pools of desperation. With a deep breath, Emma leaned in. Within that swirling void, faces began to emerge. Their mouths moved in silent screams, formed from nightmares she could barely fathom. And then, among them, the unmistakable silhouette of Lucy. Her angelic face twisted in terror, her mouth forming the word mom. Emma's heart splintered. She couldn't breathe. Lucy! I'm coming! She shouted, recoiling in horror at the realization of what breaking the curse would mean. But how? What do I have to sacrifice? The witch's laughter struck from the shadows, dark and gleeful. Sacrifice? Oh dear, every choice comes with a cost. You must surrender, give one life to save the others. Emma's blood ran cold. The thought rippled through her mind, serpentine and sinister. One life? At that moment, the symbols began to vibrate beneath her palm, pulsating with a rhythm that matched her racing heart. Power is held in choices, the voice in the wind hissed. You decide who you save, and who stays trapped. Images flooded her mind. The faces of lost children. The laughter of her own daughter melded with the shrieks of anguish swirling around her. In that moment, Emma felt the weight of 1,000 decisions, 1,000 moments where she could either run or face the storm. "Your soul is the key," the witch taunted, her face morphing grotesquely in the shadows. "What will your love cost you?" Emma's fingers tightened around the talisman, its heat flickering like a candle struggling against the wind. She shuddered, tears slipping down her cheeks as the implications washed over her. Would she utterly destroy herself to save her daughter? Was there truly no other way? The ground trembled again, threatening to pull her into the abyss. Shadows reached out, whispering promises of freedom and stealing hope with every flicker of their forms. "Make your choice," the witch crooned, a ghostly caress wrapping around Emma's throat. Every second stretched like a taut wire, ready to snap. She could feel darkness closing in, tempting her to give in to despair. As the very air around her crackled with tension, Emma gathered her breath, her heart thundering in her ears. She could choose to relent or resist. To save them all, the talisman pulsed in her grip. "I will do it." And as she spoke those words, a new dread filled the air. A shadow darker than the abyss surged forward, threatening to swallow her whole. Would she stand against it? Or would the ultimate sacrifice claim her next? Time was running out, and the choice weighed heavily in the air. The shadows surged closer, a ravenous tide of despair that licked at Emma's shoes. Every exhalation felt like her last. She could feel the talisman burning in her palm, its heat increasing as if it was alive. A fervent whisper escaped from between her clenched teeth, "I won't lose you, Lucy." The air crackled, thick with anticipation. The witch's laughter echoed in the recesses of the graveyard. "You think you can save them all? The fates are not so easily rewritten, dear Emma." Suddenly, the ground split wider, dark tendrils snaking out from the abyss, sweeping around her ankles, pulling her closer to the void. Emma fought against the pull, desperate to stand her ground. The icy touch of fate chilled her spine. "No. I resist. I want to let evil take me." But the oppressive presence only pressed harder. Images flashed through her mind, the faces of children lost to tragedy, their laughter morphing into cries of pain. What if you couldn't save them all? What if it's just you? The witch hummed mockingly, a dark lullaby weaving its way through the air. Emma felt tears burn her eyes. "Lucy needs me." Lucy, the name echoed, morphing and twisting, becoming more sinister. The shadows swirled around the gravestone, crafting a monstrous shape, a grotesque fusion of sorrow and dread. Will you bargain with fate? What do you truly know about sacrifice? Her heart raced, an erratic rhythm pounding in her ears. Emma's resolve faltered. What if breaking the curse meant losing Lucy forever? With every second she hesitated, the darkness crept closer, whispering its deceitful promises. What if you choose wrong? The world around her blurred, the graveyard faded and twisted, an upside-down reflection of every fear she ever faced. A scene unfolded before her, a playground filled with children, laughter echoing in sweet melodies, then transitioning to a lone figure, her own daughter, standing helpless and alone, the smile wiped from her face. "No!" Emma gasped, her breath hitching painfully in her throat. "Stop!" The talisman glowed fiercely, and with a surge of determination, she raised it high. "I'll break this curse." But shadows clawed at her, relentless and insatiable. "Who will pay the price, Emma? Who will leave this world for your wish?" They hissed like snakes, crawling nearer, tightening their grip. In that moment, Emma understood the sacrifice was inevitable. But whose life would weigh heavier on her conscience? The anguished cries grew louder, forming a chaotic symphony of pain, each note a reminder of every choice she had made. She felt hollow, like a shell cradling torment within. I don't want to choose." Yet beneath that protest, something stirred deep inside, a chilling truth. To save one, she might need to condemn another. The dance of shadows quickened, feeding on her fear, and the witch cackled fully, savoring every moment. "Choose wisely, my dear. The road you walk bears heavy burdens. One must fall for the many to escape." Emma's pulse drummed a frantic beat. The world narrowed down to a circle of grit and faint light. Lucy's pleas filled her mind, flickering like candle flames in a storm. In that harsh light, the weight of a decision loomed over her like a guillotine, swift and unforgiving. "Time is up," Emma the witch crooned, her voice dripping with mockery. In that moment, clarity crashed over her, fierce and blinding.
She had one chance. One reckless act of bravery could change everything.
With a cry that felt like both surrender and defiance, Emma yelled, "I will not allow fear to dictate my actions. I choose." Then the darkness shimmered violently, a forceful wind whipping about her like a demon awakened from slumber. The shadows screamed, a roaring cacophony echoing through the graveyard, but before she could finish, a voice cut through the chaos, "Mom."
No. It was Lucy.
And as Emma turned, the world spun, the ground beneath her trembling like the heartbeat of the earth itself. In that very instant, everything changed. Was it too late to turn back? Or were they both lost in that haunting moment? Darkness gathered to claim them both. The shadows writhed, battling against a sudden burst of light from the talisman. Battered and frayed, Emma felt her grip falter but quickly squeezed harder, the heat licking at her skin like flame. "No. I choose." The rest was drowned in a deluge of shadow and sound. Lucy's voice echoed in her head, trapping her between reality and this dark reflection. "Mom. Please." As the shadows twisted tighter, the ground shook violently. Emma stumbled, and her eyes flew wide open, searching for her daughter. There. She spotted Lucy, standing just a few feet away. The pale glow of the talisman illuminated her lovely, frightened face amid the swirling darkness. "Stand back!" Emma shouted, but she wasn't even sure it'd reach Lucy through the chaos. The witch's masked silhouette loomed just beyond, her laughter slicing into the air, shrill and taunting. "Oh, look at the mother, desperately trying to hold on to her sweet little girl. How tragic this will be." The shadows lunged, reaching for Lucy, but Emma's resolve ignited. "I can't lose you. Not like this." She clutched the talisman tight, feeling its power thrumming against her skin. A surge of strength pulsed through her, each heartbeat fueling her bravery. "Listen to the truth, my dear," the witch crooned, her voice a sickly sweet poison. "How many will suffer for your selfishness? Will you harm the innocent for your own desires?" Emma's heart raced as images surfaced, children's faces ghosting through her mind, their haunted eyes seeking comfort, seeking salvation. If she chose wrong, the air thickened with the weight of despair, threatening to collapse around her. "You're lying!" she screamed, brandishing the talisman as if it were a weapon. "This isn't your game." The shadow screeched, pushing against her flesh, cold and desperate. She thought she felt a familiar presence, longing to take her hand. "Mom! Just pick me!" Lucy cried, gauged in fear and hope. "Lucy, no!" The bond tugged painfully at Emma, pulling her in opposite directions. She could feel her daughter reach for her even amidst the shifting darkness. Yet, the pull of fate hung heavy as a noose around her throat. Emma's breath was ragged, desperation clawing at her throat. What had begun as a night of terror morphed into an unbearable choice, a choice between her daughter and the countless others lost. "Choose." The witch's hiss rang out, accompanied by a wave of shadows that crashed toward Lucy. "Choose for them, not for yourself." Every instinct told Emma to plunge into the depths of the shadow. To fight, to save Lucy. But the truth pinned her down. "If I let Lucy go, will I save them all?" The shadows answered. "One less will save many more, no." Emma's voice was fierce, drowning out the whispering darkness. "I won't buy into your lies." She raised the talisman high, ignited by a flicker of hope that surged within her. The light spread, illuminating the graveyard in a ghostly glow, igniting the shadows, forcing them to retreat. "Foolish mortal!" The witch howled, desperation creeping into her tone. The shadows twisted, coiling tighter as if they were sentient, wrapping around Emma's body like iron chains. "Lucy!" Emma screamed, her heart pounding with raw fear. A whimper clawed its way up Emma's throat as she fought the shadows. The world around her spun faster, her vision narrowing. "I won't let them take you, sweetheart." But with each second, the darkness rallied. It congealed into a monstrous wave, rising to swallow Emma whole. Then the talisman pulsed ominously, a final flare of light that cut through the night.
Emma's heart thundered as she felt the shift in the air. "Hold on!" she bellowed to her daughter, each syllable trembling with her resolve. "What should I do, Mom?"
Lucy's voice barely reached her through the crackling chaos.
"Just believe in us, Mom."
With a sudden force that felt like it would rip her apart, the talisman erupted into a blinding light. Emma braced herself as the shadows screamed, their agony echoing off the crumbling gravestones, exposing the truth their darkness fed off fear, built upon sacrifice and despair. But would it be enough
to save them? Amidst the blinding light, all she could think was, is this my end or a new beginning?
Then the shadows screamed louder than ever before.
Would their bond endure the darkness they faced? And suddenly, everything went silent. The air thickened, hovering in an almost eerie stillness. Emma's heart raced as she swayed amidst the suspended moment, reality waiting with bated breath. What had happened? Where were the shadows?
Her mind spun with uncertainties, as dread gathered in the corners of her heart.
The only question that hung heavy was, had she chosen wisely?
As the silence stretched, Emma blinked through the blinding white light, her mind whirling. She felt weightless, her heart pounding wildly in her chest.
Had she succeeded?
The darkness, the overwhelming shadows that had clung to her, was gone. She opened her eyes wider, feeling a rush of air around her.
"Mom?"
The voice echoed in the void, soft and pure, a melody she thought she'd lost forever. Emma whipped around to see Lucy standing before her, a radiant figure untouched by the encroaching shadows.
"Lucy!"
Emma gasped, tears pooling in her eyes. She lunged forward, arms outstretched, and in an instant, her daughter was in her embrace, solid and warm.
"I knew you'd come,"
Lucy exclaimed, her voice jubilant while Emma's heart danced with relief. And then, they heard it, the faint cries of countless children drifting like echoes from afar. The light surrounding them pulsed in rhythm with Emma's heart, and the air shimmered with forgotten souls yearning for freedom. "It's not over yet, Mom," Lucy said, her eyes glistening with knowledge beyond her years.
"We have to help them.
You broke the curse."
Emma looked around, the realization weighing heavy.
"The souls, they're still trapped, not for long," Lucy said firmly.
"The power you've ignited can set them free.
The chains binding them to the past need to be broken." Overcoming the fear, Emma took Lucy's hand, and together they stepped into the shimmering light, guided by the whispers of lost souls. With every step, Emma felt the talisman warm at her chest, its energy expanding, gathering strength as if sensing the connection they sought to forge. The radiant aura enveloped them, revealing countless shadows flickering just beyond their reach. Each one bore the faces of children lost to despair, eyes wide with longing and hope, searching for someone to set them free.
"Stand together," Emma urged Lucy, their fingers intertwined. "Let our love cut through the darkness."
In response, the circle of light grew, a halo blazing around them as a roar of hope surged forth, filling the air with energy. Echoes of laughter mixed with fading cries, weaving a tapestry of the past, threading the air with vivid colors against the oppressive backdrop of shadows.
"We are here,"
Emma shouted, her voice strong and unwavering.
"We hear you. We will not let you linger in despair." The talisman pulsed brightly, the ancient symbols etched across its surface glowing fiercely.
Light streamed from it, bathing the graveyard in warmth, illuminating each corner choking in darkness. The shadows writhed at the edge of the light, a tempest stirred by newfound strength. With tears streaming down her face, Emma focused on the names of every child lost to the shadows. She felt the warmth of her ancestors at her back, guiding her, lending their strength.
"Your suffering ends here. We release you."
As she spoke those words, a wave of brilliance surged through the graveyard, breaking through the chains of darkness binding the lost souls.
The figures flickered, their faces softening in disbelief and gratitude.
One by one, they began to step forward, drifting toward Emma and Lucy, their spirits becoming enveloped in light as they finally found peace. "Thank you," a chorus echoed, filling the air, lifting the weight from Emma's heart. Each liberated child shone brighter than the last, their spirits breaking free from the chains of the witch's curse.
"Mom!"
Lucy exclaimed, beaming with pride, eyes sparkling as the last of the shadows lifted.
"Look!"
Emma turned just in time to witness the dark figure of the witch dissolving into a shriek, her hold on the earthly realm shattered by the purity of their combined love. Waves of light engulfed her, burning away the darkness, leaving only silence in her wake. As the last remnants of the witch evaporated, the air shifted, the dull ache in the atmosphere replacing itself with a glimmer of hope.
Emma hugged Lucy tighter, breaths mingled between them as they embraced their triumph. Are we free?" Emma whispered, holding her daughter as if to never let go again.
"Yes," Lucy affirmed, eyes bright with wonder.
"We did it, Mommy.
Together." Tears of joy mixed with relief streamed down Emma's cheeks. She had faced the darkness, and in the deepest shadows, she had found her strength, the love for her children.
The light around them pulsed, warm and inviting, guiding them back to their home.
"Let us go home," Emma said softly, squeezing Lucy's hand, feeling an unbreakable bond. As they started to fade from the graveyard, twilight crept in, the soft light of dusk casting a gentle glow around them. The worries of their past no longer clung to Emma. Their lives felt rich with potential, painted in colors of hope that outshined the shadows. Home awaited this time, as a sanctuary where darkness would never creep in again. Now that their journey had concluded, Emma promised herself to always heed the whispers of hope. As she and Lucy stepped into their front porch, the world felt renewed. The memories of the shadows were whispers of the past, battles fought and won. And they vowed, together, to never let darkness reign in their lives again. If you want to hear more stories that will chill your spine and warm your heart all at once, you need to subscribe now. You don't want to miss our next exclusive tale. Smash that like button to support the channel and feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about this thrilling conclusion, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Don't wait even one more second. True fans understand the importance of supporting this channel.